it's time to get into this mess because I don't know if we can separate the art from the artist. But let's talk about this America's Next Top Model reality check episode. So I finally watched it last night because I was like, oh no, I got to watch this along with everybody because I know I can't be like, oh yeah, I'll get to it eventually because this is a hot button topic. It's on the tip of everybody's tongue right now. And Tyra, you got some explaining to do because you out here looking like a whole fool. She literally thought this damn documentary that she had no, that clearly we watched, she has no control over, was going to make her, I guess, come out not looking as bad. But no, I feel like it made you look worse. And then had the unmitigated gall to sit up here and say, after all of this, taking no accountability for her part in that show and the fact that she cared more about this show succeeding on UPN than the lives of these models or these girls that wanted to be models or in her position. Kind of like in a way how I feel RuPaul feels about them drag queens. Because I said the way she did Miss J is the same way RuPaul is doing Matthew Anderson. And funnily enough, I was watching a video and I forgot that Matthew Anderson was a judge on America's Next Top Model. Because, you know, he does hair and makeup. He did Rue's makeup and hair over the years before he ended up in a hospice because he was sick. And then he brought in Raven and, you know, to do the hair, to do the makeup. And, oh my God, who was the other one? The big girl that ended up doing her hair for some undisclosed reason. I don't know. I think she did explain it on Joseph Shepard's show. I think she did discuss why she never stopped. She didn't. I think it was because she was working on. They want her to come do everybody hair and makeup on AJ and the Queen, and there was a whole situation that happened, and then Rue was like, "Oh well, I don't want to. I guess work with you if you're not willing to do all the things that I'm asking." I was like, but wait a minute, I got to get paid a certain way. There's certain things that goes on with all of this, and you treat me this way. So it goes to show a lot of times I be telling y'all this is not show friends, this is show business, and people will throw your ass under the bus real quick when it comes to if they're going to save their own career, which it goes to show Tyra did that quite a few times in this damn show. So let's get into it because I got 12 of the most shocking revelations that we can just go through. So yeah, so Netflix docuseries Reality Check Inside America's Next Top Model basically took viewers behind the catwalk to uncover what really went down on the Tyra Banks created reality show, which aired for 24 cycles from 2003 to 2018. The three-part, damn, it's been on for that long? Yeah, it's been off 8 years. I don't know why I felt like it was off longer than that, but whatever. So the three-part docuseries, which began streaming on February 16th, features unprecedented access to former judges, contestants, and producers, as well as Banks herself, who spoke candidly about the show's complicated legacy. Top Model has come under fire in recent years for some questionable photo shoots, including using blackface in a challenge where contestants were made to portray races and ethnicities outside of their own. Actually, we need to be more specific. They did the blackface episode more than once. They did it twice, and it was brought up in the show that they did a blackface challenge more than once. So if it was one time, I was like, okay, but y'all did it twice. And funnily enough, you had Mr. J up in there talking, oh, I was appalled that we had to do this because I'm from South Africa and apartheid and blah, blah, blah. It's like, first of all, I was shocked over that. I was not expecting Mr. J to come out and say he was South African from, like apartheid Clyde, aka Elon Musk. Like they from the same tribe. Not saying that they, I'm just saying South Africa. Not literally the same tribe, but you know what I'm saying. But anyway, so I was surprised when he said that because I know some of my friends would say, I thought he was Hispanic. And I'm like, well, I guess because y'all think anybody with my complexion and some good damn hair, y'all thinking y'all want to claim as Hispanic. But some of us, we all mix with other things. It's cute or whatever if y'all won't automatically think that. But yeah, not everybody who's got, fair skin and good hair, Savannah. Well, that's good man, Savannah. Like the good hair or whatever you want to call it, is Hispanic. But anyway, so she came under fire, for all those things, the unhealthy lifestyle choices, and there was a lot of stuff that went down. So one of the things that we're going to get into is how they got turned down by all the major networks. So yeah, they went to all the major networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, all of them. They said, no, we're not interested in doing a show about models because models are vapid. Y'all lack a personality. what is so interesting about models and that whole world and all this other stuff. So I wonder if she, because she said that UPN was the last on the list. I wonder if she actually went to where's it, the WB or the CW back in 2002? I can't, or 2001. I can't remember, or 2000. Because I think they developed in 2000, and then 2 years later it wound up coming out. But back in the 2000s, I think they might have, I don't know if it was the WB or the CW, but I wonder if she took it there. Because they didn't mention that. They just mentioned like the major networks. Because they said they went to NBC, they went to ABC, they went to CBS, they went to Fox. But WB was around. But they went to UPN, which we used to call the U People's Network because of all them chitlin circus shows I used to have on there. Homeboys and Outer Space and all that mess. The only show I liked on UPN was Moesha and Half and Half and Girlfriends. But other than that, I was like, remember Homeboys in Outer Space? I was like, could y'all be any more stereotypical with this mess? But anyway, so but they said they went to UPN, but they said oh, UPN is merged into the CW. When did that happen? But they said at the time UPN's ratings were struggling and they were looking for a hit to boost their numbers. Because they literally were dead last. When they were saying that they was dead last in the situation, oh, they wasn't lying. They were dead freaking last in regards of like ratings and everything. Like they was in the 130s when it came to the ratings. And nobody was really watching the shows on that channel. WB was getting way more numbers than UPN. So yeah. So she basically was like, I'm at my wit's end. My back is up against the wall. I did what I had to do to get the show off the ground. And lo and behold, they said yes and picked up the show. So then number two, let's get into the Shandy stuff. Because when I saw how Shandy looked today, okay, I did gaggle. I'm like, Papa, who that lady? But then when she started talking, I saw the teeth. I'm like, okay, that's Shandy. No shade. I'm just saying. I'm just like, I ain't recognize her. She looked a little rough. But sometimes these white girls, y'all age like spoiled milk. But anyway, so one of the most notorious scenes, as y'all know from Top Model, came during cycle 2 when the remaining 5 contestants went to Milan to go overseas photo shoots. So Shandy was a girl who actually used to work at Walgreens from Kansas City, and then she went on the show, and she literally was like the in it to win it type girl. Like we thought that she was gonna make it all the way to the end and win the show. And she was in a relationship with her boyfriend Eric, and they were, I think, saving themselves for marriage. So what had happened was they did the photo shoot. I think wasn't it they were going on Go Sees? Yeah, so they had to go on a Go See. If those who don't know what a Go See is basically you have to go around and give your information all these different places, take your photo, all that other stuff. Like it's literally like an audition when you're trying to get to work on these runway shows or whatever the case is, or like for Fashion Week and all that stuff. So she ended up, so that after all the Go Sees and everything and the photo shoot they had to do for the show, there was somebody, she don't remember who it was, but they said that, do you think it would be a good idea if we just invite some of the guys that were driving us around for the Go Sees and we did the photo shoot and stuff with over to have drinks, dinner, whatever the case was. And we'll get into the eating disorder stuff later on. We get to that topic, but there was, especially when you had Janice Dickinson, who, sidebar, why wasn't that McGilla gorilla looking bitch asked to be a part of the thing? Because she was very problematic in some of the stuff that her ass was saying on the show. So she should have been brought in to explain why she was saying some of the stuff that she was saying. But I understand it was the times. Y'all were looking for people to be sort of like that Simon Cowell type because American Idol was huge. The being like the shady, real mean-spirited judge was the popular thing to do at the time. So I could totally understand why Janice was doing what she was doing. And quiet as it's kept, I'm not gonna hold you. I was living for what she was saying. Yeah, that was mean and harsh, but the fashion industry is ruthless. Like some of the stuff that she was saying and they were saying about fat shaming and just a little bit of fat on you, people will go and it would be 10 times worse if you actually was in a casting with people. What Janice and them was saying was tame compared to what you would hear when you were actually getting those rooms with those people, or what they weren't saying behind, in your face, like right behind your back or whatever. So after the whole situation, the guys came back to the house, and I think what it was that Shandy didn't eat, because a lot of times the girls were saying that they wasn't really getting fed the way they should have been getting fed on the show, because if you're doing the show, you got to stay a certain weight, you got to maintain your weight, and they want you to kind of like not be out here just, shoving food down your throat. So I think what it was, and I've done this before when I was younger, when I didn't know how to drink properly, I would drink on an empty stomach. And when you drink on an empty stomach, you get lit real fast, you black out, and an SA ended up happening, which the show framed it as, well, she cheated on her boyfriend. And she didn't, that's not what happened. And what people need to also realize, and I'm glad that Jay Manuel brought this up. So Jay Manuel brought up the fact that when the rule is, and I learned this from watching like the Real World and those other stuff, because I remember they would talk about this back in the day too. If one person is in the bathroom, they cannot film you. But if two or more people is in the bathroom, then it becomes a story. Something's going on. The cameras have a right to go in because now it's more than one person. Hence why when you watch shows like The Real World and stuff growing up, you would see a lot of fornication going on with cast members or people they would just bring over to the house, or even similar to like Jersey Shore. They would do a lot of that when it would come to it. So when it came down to it, that's when it became like a story time. Now, whether or not they knew this was an assault and they could tell that this girl was blacked out and this man was taking advantage of her, that's across the producers have to bear and they have to speak up on and admit it. But it's kind of hard when you have people like Tyra Banks and Ken Mock and so many others on the show that refuse to actually take accountability for the shit that went on the show. They did in certain parts, but I felt like for the most part, y'all really wasn't taking accountability. So they did frame it as a cheating scandal, and I thought it was even worse putting salt on the wound. And you know she had a damn thing in her ear because a lot of these people walk around with them. So the producers filled Tyra in on the situation, and she had the nerve to sit her little flat behind down in that chair and frame it. Oh yeah, one time I came to Italy and we were working and a boyfriend cheated on me, all that crap. And it's like, girl, you know that shit didn't happen to you. And they were looking to get a rise out of Shandy. And then she goes and looks at her and like, you cheated on him, didn't you? My girl, you knew the shit, so why you up in here playing like you dumb? So I hated that. But looking back on it now, I hate it. Back then, it was salacious. It was good TV, and we were all salivating at the mouth because I think like we didn't have the vernacular to even articulate what was going on. I'll say to me because I was the same age as a lot of these girls on the show. So I didn't know how to like articulate what I'm watching. I'm entertained by it. I'm engulfed by it. So we looking at it as the way y'all framed it, we gonna think y'all out here cheating. And she said that her and her boyfriend, they tried to make a go of it after the show, but it didn't end up working out because he had come to move to New York with her at one point, and she was like, it was hard for us to make it work because when we walking down the street and people out here calling me a slut and a whore and all these other things, then all of a sudden, how can you feel okay with wanting to be in a relationship with somebody? Because now you got assholes on the street, and New Yorkers, they don't got no chill. They out here reminding you based off of what they seen on TV. They feel bold to be coming out here saying all kinds of craziness about you. So now the next thing is, then we gotta talk about Danielle Evans, who I did love the fact that Danielle gathered Tyra with some of the stuff that she said in regards to the team. She was like, girl, you full of shit. So the gap in her too. Let's talk about Danielle Evans. So yeah, so we had the makeover episodes, which some of them makeovers was a choice. The way that y'all would do some of these girls' hair, the fact that you messed up that poor girl's teeth, y'all had her going and they were doing all kinds of. I'm like, these days, just giving veneers like a Cardi B or somebody and call it a day. But I guess y'all probably didn't have that the way it is now. Like the teeth look much better now, but back in the day, y'all sitting there doing all kinds of stuff, pulling these girls' teeth out and doing all kinds of craziness. So Danielle did not want to get her gap closed. And I'm sitting there like, she doesn't need her gap closed. Y'all were mocking her over having the gap. And there were models who have had careers with gaps in their teeth. One that comes to mind immediately, Lauren Hutton, before she became an actress, she was a model and was successful with the gap in her tooth. The one thing about that I've noticed, and there's been other models that have had gaps in their teeth, it's funny how when white girls have gaps or whatever the case is, or uniqueness about them, y'all immediately prop them up and want to make something out of them and think, oh, that's a unique thing about you. We love that flaw. We could exploit it and make it look like we could turn that thing that is considered ugly into a piece of beauty. And Tyra, who likes to just pull out the black card, and I notice this when it's convenient. Like, so all of a sudden, this was a black, blah, 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 and we'll get into what she said regarding that in a minute. But when it comes to the white girls, you don't be having that same damn energy. Also, I did find it funny that she said that she fought with Les Moonves' problematic ass. Because remember, Les Moonves had a hand in trying to damn near destroy Janet Jackson's career post Titty Gate, and was, trying to blacklist her and prevent her from performing in a whole lot of places because he was running Viacom, which, Viacom, MTV, VH1, all of those things, where a lot of people had to go to VH1 in order to get their music promoted, videos, whatever the case was. He was running that place. And now we know the piece of shit that he actually is. And it's funny how he ran around talking about he didn't want a Latino on the show in season 1, but you're married to a whole Asian bitch. Like, really? We doing that? And I can say that because I'm part Asian. So I was almost going to say, well, shit, I'll say it now. I said, you married a whole damn Ling Ling, and you got the nerve to sit up in here and talk about you didn't want a Hispanic girl on the show. So y'all like marrying these exotic bitches when it's convenient. But when it come down to the representation, you want them to sit back in the background unless they're a big old robot like the woman you married to. Because remember, it wasn't until all this stuff started coming about him that all of a sudden she remembered her last name was Moonves and decided to put it on every damn thing. We see you, Chinbot. But anyway, this ain't about her. It was about her husband, but unfortunately she had to catch that straight. So now Tyra went and said she apologized for making her close her gap. I'm like, well, it's a little too late for that. She could have maybe she could have thrived. But then again, when we get around to Tiffany, which I don't know, it wasn't Tiffany, it was Danielle. Wasn't it? Because she was the one that won, which she was the one that was talking about that when I think she got the gap closed, she ended up winning the show, and then she wasn't getting no bookings. She lived in the modeling house. Chanel Iman was actually her roommate. All those girls was getting bookings, and she wasn't. And she went and said that one day, I think I can't remember what the time because it was a lot of information. I was like, I don't know if she asked her or Chanel volunteered the information, but I'm going to assume that she asked her. She was like, why she was wondering why she was getting booked, and Chanel said because they all knew they were told to treat her differently because she's a reality star, which goes to show that Tyra knew from the beginning that these girls would never become models and sold y'all a lie and a dream, and only just to get y'all to come on this show so that way the ratings can keep going, and the more that we as a consumer continue to tune into this show and supported her vanity project, that she was going to continue to financially benefit off this show, knowing full on well that y'all was never going to become the next Naomi Campbell. Y'all was never going to, because quiet as it's kept, Tyra was not a supermodel. Tyra was a Victoria's Secret model. She was never up there in the big leagues like the Naomis and the Heidi Klums. But I think, wait a minute, Heidi Klum, I think, was a Victoria's Secret model. Cancel that. The Naomis, the Linda Evangelistas, even I guess we'll put the world's first supermodel, Janice Dickinson, up in there. The Imans, all of those girls. Which I did find it cute that Iman and David Bowie did give Jay Manuel the blessing saying that you are where you need to be. And at the time he definitely was where he needed to be. But we'll get in, as we go down, we'll talk about how he felt though, with his whole thing about trying to lead the show and all this other stuff. So yeah, having to change what you would consider their imperfections, when we have known that in the fashion world, you see an imperfection on a girl and you use it to their advantage. That's their moneymaker. Hence, what's the girl that looked like I was gonna say that got all them spots on her like she Neapolitan ice cream. You found her. You put on the show and she's successful. Brown cow stunning. That's probably what I should start calling her. But anyway, so Banks went and apologized. She said that was between a rock and a hard place for me because there were agents who would tell me she would not work with those teeth. It's just not going to happen. Well, I don't know who she was talking to, but them agents was full of shit because damn well there are many models that are out here from Lauren Hutton on down that have had a gap in their teeth and they have booked shows. They were successful before they transitioned to whatever they transitioned into. And even models now, they have gaps in their teeth, they work. So for you to sit and say that's some BS, because then years later, a white girl came on the show and you referenced Lauren Hutton. So you knew what you said was some bullshit. And this girl, and you we're gonna widen your teeth and give you a gap. So how you gonna give somebody a gap when you literally said they're not gonna book nothing, the black girl, but the white girl automatically will book it, which goes to show that you know what, Tyra was full of shit when she was on that show. But at the time, like I said, we weren't aware. We wasn't really all deep within the thing. We were all entertained by the shenanigans. But Evans went and basically said, this is what she said about Banks' justification. She said, bull effing shit. Me getting my gap closed is not opening any doors for me. You knew what you were doing for the show. You were making good TV at my expense. Absolutely. Now let's get into the eating disorder. So as y'all know, watching the show, the judges were hypocritical for the contestants' weight and figures. There was a lot of body shaming on the show, and I'm not sitting up in here justifying what they said, but yeah, they were extremely harsh, especially when you hear from the men, them homosexuals, and especially from Janice Dickinson, who they said used to bait Tyra a lot. And I'm like, girl, you the executive producer of the show. Why don't you nip into my song, bitch? You seem to forget whose show this is. Because you know, when it comes to RuPaul's Drag Race, do y'all see them come up in there trying to get up under RuPaul's skin as a judge? Oh, they know better. I mean, they may try to do it to Michelle and the rest of them. Like when we had damn, what the hell is his name? Joe McHale was on the show, and he would just bait and goat Michelle, and she used to get irritated because he used to go, yeah. Like he kept doing that every 2 seconds. And she would get annoyed. That was kind of funny though. But then when you rewatch the season, it does get kind of annoying. So they don't be doing that to them, but I'm like, girl, this is your show. Like, rein these judges in. Like, sis, you seem to forget who is the executive producer of this show, and I'm not just gonna let you sit up in here. I'm just gonna let it go or whatever. It's like, nah. And then you got Jay Manuel having to come in and defend her, and she trying to come in thinking she cute. So, oh, and your dyed hair. It's like, bitch, do you own a mirror? Because you look like your skin is literally melting under them lights. And you got the nerve to try to sit and read Jay, who still looks snatched to this day. I mean, I can see he got a little filler up in their face. I'm not saying as bad as Karamo, but he still look good. It's just an older version. So, so yeah, the crazy part was like the girls was eating. They said it was very common to live on Diet Coke and cigarettes. Child, I remember because once upon a time when I tried to get into modeling, and that was from like Barbizon, all the stuff, I used to get made fun of because of the whole brown rice and cigarettes. Thank God that was short lived because I was like, I ain't trying to be up in here trying to model and stuff. Even if it's not like real walking down the runway type stuff. Like doing anything with fashion, I like food a little too much to be up in here trying to survive on brown rice, Diet Coke, and cigarettes. But Whitney, that's what she said, what they lived on. And they said, I just pretended like it didn't bother me. But I'm sure most of the girls would do this. I would cry in the shower every day because the shower is the one place that the cameraman couldn't come. So that was our safe space to release and be like, why are they doing this to me? The girls was going into shock on the show because of how cold the water was. The girls were being underfed and all the other stuff. Now let's get into the Tiffany Richardson show because because she went in on Tyra. So, but let's first of all, let's get into the iconic, we were all rooting for you situation. Because Tiffany was just like pissed because they wanted her to read some teleprompter and they wanted her to read Christian Lacroix, or as little Kim would say, Christian Lacrosse. She couldn't even pronounce that shit back then on, what was it? No Time for Fake Ones. This style with the real one, that song. So like you trying to read all these crazy French names, and she didn't want to look like a fool in front of people. I guess her pride got in the way or whatever. And Tyra was getting mad because you could definitely see, well, read it, you're going home. I was like, bitch, you need to relax. Like I would have been like that, but then again, when you on that show and you thinking this is gonna be an opportunity that your career is gonna make it somewhere, you ain't gonna be like, bitch, calm down. Like who are you talking to like that? So in my mind, I would have said, but in real life, I probably looked at her like, okay, sis, what are you doing? So yeah, so then the whole thing, she said that she lost it. It was probably bigger than her. It was family, friend, society. She go weaponizing the whole black girls thing, all the challenges we have. So many people saying that we're not good enough. I think all that was in the moment that's a black girl stuff that goes deep inside of me, but I knew I went too far. So yeah, so now Miss Mama Tiffany has come out and she said Tyra full of shit. So let's get into what she said. So um Richardson blasted the supermodel in an Instagram post accusing her of being a lying ass bitch. She said, "You know how you treated me the whole time off and on camera. You was a bully. You treated me like shit and said the nastiest things about me and my son." Yeah, because the word on the curb was she said that you can go back home and living in the projects on a mattress with you and your son. That's the alleged word that apparently that did not make the air that Tyra apparently said. And they said a week later, the lawyers and stuff ended up on the set because Tyra was doing too much. You got the real her in that video, I mean, in that clip. The former contestant claimed that the argument was edited to make it seem like Banks cared about her. She said, "Fuck you," at Tyra Banks. "I bet you won't sit down with me face to face and talk about it." This is what she said before calling out her family for never defending her. Now, Richardson, who also has been working at a group home in Miami supporting people with mental disabilities since 2017, also noted that she got more money and helping more people than all or many of the top models. She said, "Damn shame. It's giving y'all still hating on little black ass me. At Tyra Banks, ho, just let it go. It's been over 20 years." Well, I think she did let it go. The fact of the matter was, Tiffany, no shade, but she's answering a question that's requiring of the documentary or the docuseries. So it's like the same thing when people get mad when the whole Pink Christina Aguilera drama from back in the day gets brought. Why is she still talking about it? Why are you still bringing that up? That happened 15 years ago. You know, all that shit. I'm like, well, if these motherfuckers keep asking me the goddamn question, and I answer it, and it keeps resurfacing because y'all like the algorithm hustle and all this other stuff. How you gonna tell me to stop, to let it go? Tell these bitches stop asking me. How about that? So I hate when people will be quick to lash out at the messenger, but you don't get mad at what preceded the message. So I was trying to say, did she say anything else? um, I don't think she said anything else in regards to that. Yeah, I think she pretty much that was yeah, I think that's pretty much it what she said on that. Now we can move on to the other stuff. So now after all of that, oh yeah, that's when Noel Marin went and said this. He said, "All I know is the next week we had all the lawyers on set because they said there was a lot more that was really said, and some of the things that were said were really not well intentioned. I will probably never repeat the lines that were actually said in the room that day. People have tried to make it something funny, but it really wasn't." And that's what Jay Manuel said in regards to the situation. Now, speaking of Jay Manuel, let's go back to Hall. So Jay Manuel, I know it was a lot, but look, it was a 3-hour thing. We got to break it down. So Manuel had been with America's Next Top Model since the beginning. He said that during the cycle 8 in 2007, he had reached a crossroad. He said that the show was evolving in a way that I guess he wasn't expecting. And you know, when you bright out, bushy tail, wet behind the ears, and you got this new fresh thing that you're doing, everybody's excited in the beginning. Look, y'all say the same thing about the Drag Race. Oh, it was cute in the beginning. We liked when it was a little rough around the edges and it was a little more unapologetic and the drama was what it was. But then once you become this well-oiled machine, it transforms into something completely different. And then, oh, it's not the show I used to like and all this other stuff. So the same thing happened with Top Model. And so he said when he got to that point, he wanted to leave the show. It just wasn't fulfilling him. So he wrote an email because him and Tyra had a pact that whenever there was something going on between them, that we would tell each other first before we told everybody else. So he actually honored that because Miss J said that the one thing about Mr. J, he keeps everything, you know, close to the chest. He's very secretive. He doesn't put any of his personal business or anybody's personal business out there. So you're not going to get nothing out of him in regards to that. So once he sent the email, he said that she didn't respond for 3 days. And when she finally did, she only wrote 3 words: "I am disappointed." So then after the change, he said that they haven't spoken. She would refuse to speak to him. When they were on set, she was being phony because the damn cameras was on. So we all act like we friends and we kikiing and whatever, whatever. And that probably stunned the hell out of him. I was like, but no, Tyra only cares about Tyra and the show. So she's gonna do whatever in the is for the sake and the benefit of that show. Fuck you, fuck Miss J, and fuck and Nigel Barker, which later on we find out that all three of them ended up getting fired. And she was like that it was the executives. Girl, you could afford for them. But we realize is that you don't care about anybody but yourself. And at the end of the day, you ended up getting fucked over because they fired your crazy ass because the show did not work when you fired the other people that was a part of the show. Yes, Tyra Banks created America's Next Top Model, but America's Next Top Model would not have been what it was if you did not have your dream team there, which was Nigel Barker, the good-looking heterosexual that was doing the photos, easy on the eyes. You had Miss J, who was teaching them girls how to walk, and his sassy one-liners and all that other stuff. We never seen nobody like Miss J on TV before. So having him there was everything. And Mr. J, who was sort of like the Michelle Visage, when he would come in and with the challenges and all the other stuff and mentor the girls in some sort of way. So having that dream team there, that worked. The network, I just think, got stupid and didn't realize what they had. And instead of coming up with real interesting challenges that didn't try to kill the girls, they all thought getting rid of these other people and bringing in new people was going to be the problem, was going to solve the problem. And it didn't. The ratings dipped because I will tell you, I was one of those fans that stopped watching Top Model when you got rid of Mr. J, Miss J, and Nigel. When y'all just had Tyra and all these other fillers up in there, filler queens, I was like, oh, but who these people? I don't care about y'all. You're not interested, and I'm not watching. So I left. And then y'all thought, get rid of Tyra. Are y'all done? Well, clearly you were, because then you brought in Rita Snorer, and then the show really went down the toilet. Because nobody cared when Rita Snorer was on there. So yeah, it was just ugly the way she did it. So it was just like, you treated Jay Manuel like shit, which means which go to show that you really don't care about the people up in there. And it was just sad to see like how you treated Jay. And then he was just like, people talk about being blacklisted. Those weren't the words. Those words were not used, but I had suspected that that's what it would turn into. So it was like, if I've been like, oh, I'm just gonna leave the show. Fuck you, I quit. She would have run around and probably told people Jay Manuel is difficult to work with. Don't hire him for nothing. And she'll sit there and blame the executives. But I'm sure she would have had a hand in that mess too, because it just goes to show she really was not here defending people the way she should have been. And it's sad that it was just like, when he wanted to leave, you should have just let him go. But then when he gets fired, then it's like, well, damn, if I would have left on top when I wanted to, we wouldn't be in this situation. But you didn't afford him that because you threatened his career in so many ways. Then they talk about the production would at times purposely not select the model's best photo. Well, obviously, because it's TV, y'all want to be messy, and it's about personality. It's about who could say the shadiest line, who's going to keep audiences engaged. And yes, because we kept watching it and the numbers reflected that was feeding the beast. And you got to keep feeding it. And after a while, you're going to run out of shit to do when you got to keep feeding it. They also mentioned that when the models were eliminated, they didn't actually go home. But I thought that was like, everybody knew that. Because when you do any reality show, like even Drag Race, they don't automatically go home. They leave them in the hotel till the show is wrapped because you don't want to reveal who was on the show or not, or who was eliminated. So you got to keep everybody still on set until the show is done. And then, yeah, so let's get into the whole thing about them preventing the models from getting work, because we did mention that in the show that Danny said that, I remember my first show season, I didn't book any shows. And I mentioned about the whole Chanel Iman situation, so we don't need to go into that again. But let's get into this, because I know this is what really was pissing people off. The Miss J stuff. Because I was like, Miss J, the voice was a little, it was a little soft. It sounded a little Andy Cohen-esque, because I don't know what's going on with Andy Cohen, but that voice is a choice. His voice is insufferable. Although I will say this, Miss J, no shade, but the voice is not as bad as like, listen, but I understand you was going through some things. And he admitted that he had a stroke a couple of years ago and he can't walk. But I'm glad that he was able to talk, because the voice was like, he still said that sassy Miss J was still there. Maybe not at 100%. He was giving about 75, but I'm glad that he was doing better in this situation. So yeah, the iconic runway coach served as a judge on America's Next Top Model. They said he suffered a stroke on December 27, 2022. And he said that when he regained consciousness, he was unable to walk and talk. Now, he said, I miss being queen of the runway. Funny enough, I did not know that that man was pushing 70 years old. That gagged me because I was like, I think he's 68. I was like, really? You look good. Black don't crack. And he said, I miss being the queen of the runway. I'm the person that taught models how to walk. I taught models how to walk, and now I can't walk. Not yet. Not yet. I'm determined to walk. Now, while recovering in the hospital, Alexander was visited by Nigel Barker and Jay Manuel. And he said, I don't know whether he even wanted me to see him in that way. I was going to see him. This is what Nigel said. And that was just a terrible shock and really upsetting and horrifying and scary. And yeah, Banks did not, Tyra didn't go visit him. And he said that she just sent me a text that she wants to come and visit me. But no, not yet. And the funny part was when he got that look under the glasses, I cackled. Because I was like, we know what that look is. If you black, and you get that look, and we don't say nothing, but that look is 1,000 words. It's like, yeah, that bitch ain't coming. Fuck her. But we already know Tyra don't care about nobody but Tyra. She never had any intention. She don't care about him. And what irritated me, I saw somebody wrote a whole citation on social media. I wanted to go in on their ass. But I'm like, you know what? This is what this show is for. I don't need to go on people's comments. I'm just give my opinion on my show that I put money into. And he was like, she's not obligated to go visit a co-worker or whatever. I'm like, excuse you? First of all, this is where y'all get it misconstrued. This is not working on America's Next Top Model type situation. This is not y'all regular cubicle job that y'all punch in at 9 and punch out at 5. This is not the same thing. American Next Top Model was a whole nother machine. When you work in the entertainment industry, it is a whole different vibe than working a regular cubicle job. Because when I was at VH1, and I got a whole culture shock on how the energy is different when you work in the world of entertainment versus working a regular job. Now, if it was a regular job, I would not be going around hanging out with coworkers. Now, I did do that when I worked at AMC because it was a different vibe there too. Like everybody, it felt like real friends, real family, and I still run it every now and again. I run into people that I used to work with. I think I must have made a big impact on them because they remember me, and I'll be looking at them like, I remember you, but I don't remember your name. But I don't be telling them that. But they remember me apparently. But AMC was a different vibe, and I'm still friends with a lot of those people there. But there have been other jobs where it's like, I wouldn't spit on your ass if you was on fire. Like I literally, like once I punch out, I don't know you, I'm going my a different way. But the reality is, Miss J taught Tyra how to walk on a runway. It goes deeper than that. So for you to sit up and just whittle this down with coworkers, it's like, fuck off. Like, y'all don't even know what you're talking about. That's not what this relationship was. It was way more than that. Well, at least he did. But I guess there's no honor amongst thieves. Tyra just be, rose-colored glasses, the horse blinders on. She looks straight ahead. She don't look around. And she don't care about nobody but herself. That's what it was given. Now they said they regretted the race swapping and the crime scene shoot. So the team expressed regret over some of the show's most notorious model shoot concepts. Is jaw dropping that after doing a clearly ill-advised shoot where models use makeup and change their race, the show did it a second time, as I mentioned, a few cycles later. They said that was their way of showing that brown and black was beautiful. Well, if you wanted to do that, then you should have brought more people of color on the damn show instead of thinking, oh, we just gonna paint a bunch of girls to look like they got soot on their face rather than them being actual black girls. So when we put it out there and the world was like, are you crazy? Have you lost your mind? Looking at the show now through a 2020 lens, it's an issue, and I understand 100% why. Another session where they posed as murdered crime scene victims, Ken Mock said that, yeah, that was a bad one. He said, I take full responsibility. That was a mistake. But then again, what y'all should have brought into the thing, which you should have looked back on, the fact that there was a girl who was on that season whose mother was shot and paralyzed because she was trying to help her mother. Her mother was going to get married. The guy, I guess, was jealous that she was marrying this other guy. She was trying to get the guy off drugs. He ended up shooting her, and she was confined to a wheelchair. And y'all thought to make this a storyline? Because what? You want to invoke some type of emotion out of her? And reality shows are notorious for doing that. They have like those story producers who come up with like, okay, so based on people's background and all the information they gather from you, the psych tests, all those other things, they take whatever from that and they're like, well, we can work a story around certain situations. And at times they will put a challenge around certain girls' traumas or whatever the case was. And they did that on the show a lot. They had to come up with crazy stuff because they had to feed the beast. Things shows like Fear Factor was popular. We had the Real World, Road Rules. We had the Challenge. We had all these crazy shows on at the time. And when you're a fashion show, you got to compete with all that. So we got to have these girls walking through fire on a runway, you know, covered in, wearing kerosene drawers. I mean, what do you expect? They got to dramatize it all. And yeah, we was eating it up. I'm not saying it's right, but that was what it was at the time. Now, then after all of this, she had the unmitigated gall to say the show was coming back for a cycle 25. Yeah, I don't have no idea what we bring back. I was like, says pay it. We don't want it. We don't want it. We don't want it. Because reality is the way you refuse to take any responsibility for all of this, I don't think we want the show. And I don't think this generation is going to want to watch an America's Next Top Model. Like, how do you even create America's Next Top Model in a Gen Z with a Gen Z lens? Because they've been out here, they were the ones out here dragging your ass over all the other stuff that was on the show in the past. So I can't see America's Next Top Model coming back in this generation and then being like, okay, we're gonna tolerate, because this is different. This is social media. This is a whole different bag. Now, speaking of this, and we can finally wrap it up because I know it's a lot. Adrian Curry has spoken out. Oh wait, I forgot to mention this. So we got to talk about the lesbian Ebony Hayes from season 1, cycle 1. Remember, she was the one that came out, and yeah, because I gotta put all of this together. And listen, this is gonna be a long ass. It probably already is. I'm probably like 45 minutes. But so Ebony, who was on cycle 1, is opening up about the fact that Tyra outed her. Did I not put her picture in here? I don't think I did. Well, anyway, so Ebony, y'all remember? Oh yeah, I do have it. I was like, I don't think I have a photo. I do have a photo. I found it. Okay, so Ebony came out and basically talked about the fact that Tyra and them outed her as a lesbian, especially at a time when in the 2000s, early 2000s, it was not cool to be gay, and we didn't have a lot of queer representation on TV. So, they said at the very first audition, Banks referred to Hayes as a lesbian without considering how she felt about it being filmed for the show. She recalled in her interview, when I first auditioned for the show, the first thing Tyra says to me, she goes, "We see that you're gay." That's kind of how the world found out I was gay and how the world met me. I hope at least they'd put me to the side and say, how do you want to approach this? They forgot the danger in that. Now, comments online united in fury over how Banks carelessly outed Hayes. They said they played with Ebony so bad, she should have won. Gorgeous and yeah, because I do agree that she should have won over. I think she should have won. I didn't see like Adrian Curry winning, but she won. And she said she didn't get on her winning. So maybe that was a blessing in disguise. But they said they played with Ebony so bad, she should have won. Gorgeous and fierce with a mean face card. Yes, she was. I was looking up like, she's gorgeous. It literally made a fool of her for views so evil. Another thing that pissed me off was the haircut sequence because she had her little curls, whatever, at the top of her head, and they were talking about we're gonna shave it off, and you had these crackers up in there talking about making fun of her hair texture and didn't know how to like cut her hair. This is why I always push forth this argument that goes on in the industry where Black actors do bring up that they need more Black people working behind the scenes who do hair and makeup. You can't bring some old Ashley up in there to be working on Shaquanda's hair. You can't, because they don't know the texture. They don't understand how to deal with a woman's hair texture, and they don't know how to do their makeup. Because then you end up looking like them girls on Top Model with the race swapping. They're gonna be looking like they literally got that, Mary Poppins, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious chimney soot on their face. And we can't be out here just having these old, Karens out here doing Black people hair and makeup. So yeah, so because wait, hold on, let me bring this up. I didn't think about bringing up the Twitter picture because I was like, look at Miss Ebony back in the day. Well, she looked good now. I mean, I like the hair and everything that she had, but how did she look back in the day? I was like, oh yes, if I was a lesbian, oh trust and believe, I'd be all up on her. But you know, I'm allergic to tuna. I'm allergic to seafood. Okay, so they didn't say later during the makeover. Oh yes, we talked about the hair and all the other stuff. And she says, when I was on that show, I knew people would be against anything I represent, being a black woman that's gay or whatever. And that's two strikes against her. Well, three, because she's black, a woman, and gay. And we already know that a lot of y'all don't respect women. Black women are the most disrespected. And y'all don't like lesbians unless you think you can sleep with them. So that's three strikes. And she said, yeah, but she said, but I did think that I would be protected. Well, you know, it's all about, as I said, it's all about ratings with them people. I thought the first episode was fabulous. I was so excited to be a role model. And then when I saw the makeovers, that's when I felt the full disappointment. I felt the full disappointment of the way I was represented. I'm sitting there and having three of the top stylists over my head, laughing at my hair texture. It was really just frustrating. And she said she ended up with three bald spots. Oh, there was another that pissed me off too. So that broad in the house, I think she was Hispanic. The girl that was trying to come for her, had the nerve to talk about, well, when you put your little lotion on your skin, can you make sure you don't put it on a knob? Because it be all slippery. And so I'm like, now, if this bitch come out with one more goddamn microaggression, but y'all better than me. Because, you know, I was like, I will say this. It's funny how I say, oh, I wouldn't have said, oh, trust and believe I would have. So in my 20s, I was way more reckless than I am now. I am much more reserved. I know it might be hard to believe, but I was ruthless back in the day. And you know what? Now thinking about it, I had tried out for quite a few reality shows back in the day. Starting to think, you know what? The universe was looking out for me to be in this position today to talk about all of this stuff on this show. Because if I would have made it on those shows, like once upon a time, there was a show called Fire Island, not what the Ripper and her husband was doing. There was a different version of Fire Island that I auditioned for. Didn't get on that. Then also there was a show that we were trying to do a gay version of Jersey Shore because Jersey Shore was hot. The Loud Era, that would be Rihanna's album, came out around that time. Drove all the way to Atlantic City, Jersey to audition for this show. Made it on, filmed the pilot and everything, just didn't get picked up. And I was like, yes, I'm about to get my reality TBT on. And I was messy in that episode. But didn't happen. So it's probably all a blessing in disguise because I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's best that I didn't get on that show. So yeah, shout out to you, Ebony, and shout out to all the girls that was on that show that survived that mess that was America's Next Top Model. And look, I feel like the show definitely did get people to a place where they could have some sort of success in some sort of way. But yeah, I feel like Top Model walked so that we get to the place that we are now. And that is that you see all these influencers and all these modeling girls and being discovered online and all this other stuff. You're seeing all that now. And it was like, I think it was just Top Model was just before its time. But yeah, y'all still don't get excuse for your behavior. So last but certainly not least, because we definitely got to wrap this up. I feel like I spent like a full hour on this, but we had to break it down. That's a lot. So Adrienne Curry has spoken out about, you know, what she saw in the show and basically threw a little shade at Tyra. So we have that clip. Let me go over to her Instagram and I'm going to play out the clip and then we'll come back and talk. Please hold.
Okay. I have mad respect for Tyra Banks. She is not sorry. She is not apologizing to you. That bitch is not effing sorry. She will not bend the knee. And I respect that. Well, you want her to lie? Lie and say how bad she feels? Everyone's coming to me and they're like, none of the judges were sorry. Why should they be? They're all loaded. Why should they give a flying... You know, if they didn't give up at the time, they certainly ain't going to give it up now. But mad respect for Tyra, because that's hard to push back on that many people trying to struggle session you. And she's just like, you, and do what I want. And I got to respect that. So I tip my hat, my lady. keep on being yourself, which is someone who doesn't give a flying shit.
Well, it seemed like she was giving her flowers, but also was throwing shade. But that goes to show, I was like, yeah, I don't care about these girls. I did what I did because it was, it was for the sake of the show. And I'm willing to throw these girls under the bus. So that way they, I get to make whatever money that I made. And it goes to show that in her actions, she cared more about herself than Mr. J and the talent. So last but certainly, let me read these because I came across this um what do you call it? Like carousel over on Instagram that a friend sent me. And it's from Preston Mitchum, who watched the America's Next Top Model documentary. And I agreed wholeheartedly with what they said. So that's why I wanted to read it to y'all. So it says, in light of reality check, I've been sitting with all of this ANTM discourse, and nostalgia is powerful, but nostalgia cannot be a shield against accountability. There were things on ANTM that were deeply problematic. This isn't about judging the show through a 2026 lens. Much of it was wrong then, too. Some of us just didn't have the language, maturity, or lived experience to fully understand what we were watching. But some of them did, and I think it said, but some of them did and called it out and were gaslit. Oh, yeah, because remember the girl that was being basically molested by that African model, and she's literally trying to tell me I'm feeling uncomfortable, and Mr. J brushed it off. So like this girl literally being assaulted and chose the picture with his hands all over her. They didn't care. Saying Ebony, a dark-skinned black queer woman, was labeled aggressive, which is a microaggression. Kenya, that's what it was. It was Kenya being framed and mostly and almost entirely through weight gain and publicly touched on camera by a man, which she called out and was told to handle it better. Danielle being pressured to close her gap. She was literally given an ultimatum which lessens choice, only for someone later to be told to widen theirs. Shandy being S8 on camera while intoxicated, which means she could not consent, and the narrative being framed as cheating. Photo shoot centered on race switching, unhoused aesthetics, violence. I remember these episodes vividly, and I remember feeling uncomfortable even then. And yes, Tyra is not solely responsible. Networks, producers, executives, UPN, Ken Mock, there are entire systems behind reality television. But let's not pretend the creator and executive producer has no agency, which she was, and refuses to take accountability for her part in that show. She went on record saying she wanted to create something different from the industry and often ended up recreating the same harm. What unsettles me most isn't just what happened, it's the refusal by some to allow critique. When people say, well, reality TV contestants know what they signed up for, I have to ask, are we okay? Consent is not just signing paperwork. Consent must be informed. Early 2000s reality TV was the Wild West, damn sure was. Very few contestants signed up to be dehumanized, sent to the hospital, sexually assaulted, or edited into caricatures. And yet, when harm happens, people rush to blame individuals instead of interrogating the system that incentivizes spectacle over safety. We should be able to hold multiple truths. Tyra is not the only one responsible, and Tyra is not absolved. People were hurt. Some contestants have said so. Silence for years doesn't make that go away. I am disappointed is not the same as reflection. It's not the same as contrition. Some of the defense I'm seeing is honestly frightening. We can love that. We can love what someone. We can love what something meant to us and still admit it caused harm. Let's loosen nostalgia's grip just a little. The irony is, I distinctly remember Tyra saying something like, when what you think you're putting out is different from what people are receiving, maybe it's you. Well, that doesn't mean erasure. It means growth, reflection, accountability. And frankly, I wish she would model, no pun intended, that more fully. We can hold systems accountable. We can hold executives accountable. We can hold networks accountable. And we can still acknowledge that something shaped our childhood. But pretending harm didn't happen because we love the show, that's not it. So that was basically that. I wanted to read y'all that because I feel like that pretty much sums up this long ass post. Even though I had to come up in here and break it on down. I know some people want to give their little 15, 20-minute citations. If we're going to break down the thing, we're going to break down the thing. So I definitely feel like if you haven't seen the show yet, definitely check it out. It was an eye opener. I don't feel like it really revealed much of anything, but it does give the open up the conversation of like, yeah, you created this show. We loved it back then, but you have to show some sort of accountability. And I feel like we didn't get that, especially from Tyra. So, Miss Tired Banks, if you really thinking about bringing this show back, don't do it because it won't survive. Especially since now people are really dragging you behind online for being tone deaf and not being able to, and just lacking self awareness. So I say all this to say in this long post, what do y'all think of? Oh, hold on. I almost closed the whole show. What do you guys think of this story regarding all of this? Regarding, oh, yeah, first of all, wait, let's not wrap it up. One more thing. Let's get into what some of the people, I was going to say, let's get into what some of the people were saying. We can do that real quick. It's long enough, we can continue. So there were some people that said the following. Hold on, let me make it size it up. I'll just read it to y'all what's going on. Y'all probably see it. So this is sad. Tyra is everything people said she was. The fuck you mean she didn't go visit him after he had a stroke? Then there was Miss J is beyond heartbreaking. Tyra should be ashamed of herself, turning her back on her friends and not even bothering to show up when tragedy strikes. But you sent a text saying you should visit. Miss J had a stroke. It paralyzed on one side of his body, can't walk, and Tyra Banks never hasn't visited him. I can't stop side eyeing Tyra. OMG, she fired her friends. Miss J had a stroke, and now he can't walk, and she didn't visit him once. Ain't nobody innocent but this girl at this point. What you mean you made that girl relive her recorded and televised grape on your first show for viewers on your talk show? Oh yeah, I forgot that she brought Shandy back and had her relive the damn trauma. So it goes on and on and on. But I feel like we definitely need to sum up with this. Let's play Billy Porter's iconic comment, but we're gonna use it for Nikki. We're gonna use it for Tyra.
Fuck her. When people show you who they are, believe them the first time.
Over her.
So yeah, there you have it. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? There's long-winded story regarding all of what you saw in America's Next Top Model. What'd you think? Do you feel like Tyra showed any accountability? What are your overall thoughts? I see we got a lot of comments because about 50 I'm looking right now. So I'm gonna get to those. And then I definitely want to hear from y'all. So the playback, whatever the case is, definitely let me know. Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below.